children. This is Mr. Moorhead coming to you live from the Cleveland Middle School campus. This is the third time I have recorded this video. I have messed it up in some way. So I have talked about this 2 times already. I hope the third time is a charm because my face is starting to look like this from having to say this stuff so much. So I hope I get this one right. All right, we're going to talk about Henry the Navigator. Now, this guy is going to live roughly the same time as the Medici, within about 50 years or so. And we have already covered the Mongols, and we have covered Marco Polo. This guy comes after those folks, okay? He comes later in the story. You're just going to see him and pretty much every explorer after Prince Henry the Navigator become really influenced by both the Mongols, that Silk Road, and probably most importantly, Marco Polo. Okay, so let's talk about Henry the Navigator just a little bit. He is going to start our age of exploration. Most history looking back, they always look for a founder, somebody that begins something. Sometimes there's a dispute, like this guy starts it, that guy starts it. Most people say that Prince Henry the Navigator starts the age of exploration, and that's the period we're covering. We covered the Renaissance, now we're on to the age of exploration. Now, the interesting thing about that, he is similar in many respects to the Medici. The Medici were not architects, artists, anything like that, but they created a period of history that focused on those things. This guy's not actually an explorer, but he is going to create a period of history that focuses on those things. Let me give you his story very briefly. There's a lot of it that we don't know, but we know that he is a prince. His dad is the King of Portugal, and he has brothers. Now, they are in a period of history where they're slowly escaping this knight on shining armor. It's kind of like, they look at that almost like we look at the Wild West gunslinger. It's a neat story. We kind of don't do that anymore. Now, they still have knights in their time, but this head-to-toe armored knight, that's not really how they fight, all right? They have moved on to different weapons and different tactics. They do have knights, though, and knight was a title, the title of sir, all right? Now, it is his age, or in his age, and his brother's age at this point in the story, they want to become knights. It's their time. And his dad is like, okay, we're going to have a big fake battle. After the big fake battle, you get to become a knight. And Henry says, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it like they did in the olden times, where they went on this big adventure. And then after the adventure, if they were successful, people became knights. Dad says, I'll think about it. No. So 700 years ago, doesn't matter, kids. He asked Dad. Dad said no, so he asks his mom. Mom says, I'll talk to your father. And they end up talking Dad into letting them go. So here is the target. Portugal is kind of close to Africa. It's separated by the Strait of Gibraltar. It's not that far away. Once you get into Africa, that northern Africa population, those people had taken over Portugal at one point. So this is like kind of a traditional enemy, if you would, or a group that they've had bad blood with in the past. And they pick a trading city. It's a city called Ceuta, all right? It's in the very, very tip, the northern part of Africa, near Portugal, and they are going to take it over. Now, they start advertising for knights to go on an adventure. This, like, plethora of people, all kinds of different knights show up, some that are in like the full body armor, and they're older. They want one last hurrah before, at the end of their life. Some people are newer. Some people are criminals. They have all kinds of folks just show up, and they kind of say, all right, you're in. They chop down a bunch of trees and build some boats. They chopped down enough trees that spies from Spain, which is Portugal's neighbor, thought that they might try to invade Spain. But they're not. They're going to go by the ocean and invade this city. So this trip seemed to be a little bit doomed. Remember, they don't go way out into the ocean. They do not have longitude. They get lost very easily. So they try to stay near the coast. They were hit by some storms. The boats crashed into the beach. One boat, nobody came out of it when it crashed. So somebody went in there to see if they were okay. And that entire boat had the plague. Most people said, hey, let's turn around and go. And Henry says, no, we're moving forward. Sure enough, they were able to attack the city, and they take the city over. The city was caught completely by surprise, and the city had two massive walls that went around it. So if you made it through the first wall, you still got this next wall that you have to go through. It's like a double defense. Henry and his group, I think it's the funniest part of the story. We don't have a lot of the accounts of the battle, but they make it through the first wall. They go into the inner wall, and they have to run around to the gate. So they're running in between the walls. And as they approach the gate, they notice this really tall guy standing up on a platform. And on that platform is this big pile of rocks. This really tall guy is completely naked. And he begins throwing rocks at Henry and his knights. And it kills a couple of them. That's how hard this guy can throw them. It hits him in the head. Finally, somebody runs up and stabs the guy, and he falls off, and they kill him. All right, but I just wonder how that story goes. So this guy, he's like the guardian of the gate. Did he just was it early morning? Did he just wake up and say, oh my God, honey, the city's under attack. Where's my big pile of rocks? It's right by the door where you left it. I told you to put those up. I gotta go. Are you going to put any clothes on? No, I'm just going like this. I'm going to stand. I'm just going to throw rocks naked. So at any rate, they do make it into the city, and he is shocked by three things in this city that he sees. One, there is gold everywhere. People have gold shoes. Like where's all this gold coming from? The next thing he sees, Henry is European. He sees a lot of European people there. And the thing that shocks him is that they're slaves. They've gone missing from Portugal, and the way that they were missing, they got on boats. They might be fishing. They get close to Africa. They're on boats. They're trading. They get close to Africa. And this city specialized in piracy. And their big loot were people. So they would pluck the folks off of the boat, sell their boat, and sell the people into slavery. And he sees thousands of Portuguese slaves. And he's upset. He's like, these are my people. They've been missing. I didn't even know they were here. So he wants to find out where this gold comes from. He wants to get all these people back to Portugal and end all of this slavery of his people. And the final thing, he starts talking to the people in the city that were taken over. And there's some other Africans there. Now, most Africans in the northern part of Africa are Arab, or another group called Berber. They're very similar to Middle Eastern people. He sees some people from the central part of Africa, all right? They're there trading. And he starts to ask them, hey, where's all this gold come from? And they told him something that he remembers from Marco Polo's book. They said that there's a kingdom near where they live in Africa, where the people are Christian, like Prince Henry, and that their leader's name is John. And I'm sure John turned into a meerkat, or excuse me, Henry turned into a meerkat. That's Prester John. That's what he thinks it is. So now he is going to spend the rest of his life trying to find out where that gold came from, because it didn't come from that part of Africa. Once they took it, it's gone. All right. It went back to Portugal. There's no more. There's no gold mines around. He wants to free all those Portuguese slaves. And then the final thing, he wants to find, where's Prester John? Because apparently he's in Africa somewhere. All right. So again, Prince Henry the Navigator, he's a Portuguese king, Portuguese prince. He's the son of the king, takes over that city of Ceuta. But here are his three goals. He wants to end that slave trade, find Prester John, find where this gold is coming from that is in this North African city. Now, why do we study Prince Henry the Navigator? He is kind of the Medici of the Renaissance. He is the Medici of the Age of Exploration. Now, he's not actually going to really explore anymore. He's not really an explorer. But he is going to sponsor explorers. He sponsors scientists, shipbuilders, engineers, people that study the wind, people that study the waves, people that study the stars. He opens up a school of navigation. All right. And any explorer worth their weight would go to his school. Now, again, he does none of these things, but he sponsors it. He is a patron of exploration. And here is the other big difference between the Medici. The Medici became filthy rich with their patronage. He's actually going to nearly go broke. But his great-grandnephews and grandnieces will end up actually continuing his work, and they find the gold. They find out in Africa where that gold comes from. And when they do, for a short while, Portugal will be the richest country on the planet. So he didn't see the benefit, but his descendants will, and his country will, because eventually, using the work he started, they're able to find at least the gold. They never do find Prester John. So Prince Henry the Navigator, here is what he is able to do. He's kind of like the Medici. He starts the age of exploration. We give him credit. Some people say it's another guy. Most people give Prince Henry the Navigator the credit. He sponsors people. He has a school of navigation. I didn't mention it, but he does have a lot of maps made of Africa. Not fully, it's just that top part. He ends the Arab domination of trade, because now he's looking for the gold. Arabs do not have this domination where only they are able to trade with the people that have the gold. So when he dies, again, the Portuguese will continue his work for the next 100+ years. The Portuguese are exploring. The Portuguese were actually the first to make it to China after Marco Polo. So, and you know that was 300 years after Marco Polo died. All right. So Henry the Navigator, that's what makes him significant. I hope you enjoy.